All right, so for number 4, let's do foxes. They're adorable and super simple. It took me a couple of times before I kind of figured out how to get the spacing right on the face. But, you know, you live and learn. So, all right, so here's what we're gonna do. I made up a little bit of a red-orange, and I'm working with a round brush. Get my new paper. And again, I'm working on the flat side, not the textured side. So a round brush and mixing up some red-orange. I need it pretty saturated, so a good amount of color in there, not real watery. It's probably a little more red than I actually meant, but it'll work. I mean, I guess you could work with kind of bluish, purplish if you wanted to do like an Arctic fox that's meant to look white. I don't know how to do those real well. I'd have to experiment with some to see. All right, so here's my color. So, excuse me, think about the spacing. I'm gonna have one fox here and a little one here. So this is going to be the fox's head, and I'm going to paint a heart. And it's a small heart. I want you to notice that. So a small heart, because we're gonna add so much more onto it. We're gonna add the body, we're gonna add another fox, all that kind of stuff. So it's about the size of my fingernail. So go ahead and put one little heart for the fox's head on the left side of your paper. Go ahead and mix up your red-orange. All right, once you're ready to move on, we're gonna close that valley of the heart. My bristles of my brush just poked out, but that's okay. It just makes it look like his fur is sticking up a little. Okay, so I'm gonna close that valley of the heart for the top of his head, and then I'm gonna come over and do a little side mark like this, and one like this for his ears. I have one bristle that's doing its own thing. It's annoying. So go ahead and add your ears. It's just kind of the tops of the ears. Again, this is what we're after. So notice this shape before I paint it. This one's kind of like a comma. So round for the back and the hind quarters, and then it comes down under the heart, under the nose for the tail. So a comma is kind of the shape that we're going for. So I'm gonna come up near the cheek, near the ear. I'm gonna make this circle shape. And then under the nose, it's not really touching the nose, but under the nose, every time I say that, it then touches. I'm gonna make the tail, the end of the comma. And they're just curled up. It doesn't have to look like anything special. We're gonna add the extra little parts once it's dry. So go ahead, add your comma for the body. All right, so for the baby one, I'm coming in with a lighter orange just to kind of lighten this up a little bit. You don't have to, but I'm choosing to because that mama fox was very, very red. All right, so on this side, again, a little heart, smaller than the first one because it's the baby. and then close off the top. So go ahead and add your heart. I'm picking up some of my paint because it's got really thick. Okay, the little lines for the ears, smaller than the first one. And then the body is going to be a backwards comma. So this one's kind of like an E, like the letter E, a lowercase e. So, and I kind of got them a little far apart. That's okay. They don't have to be touching. I wanted them to be, but they don't have to be. So the circle part and under the nose for the tail part. I don't know if you kind of see how I get a letter E out of that, but anyway. I mean, I guess I could put a third one, another little baby fox here in the center to kind of bring them all together. I think I'm going to do that on mine just because I like them to be cuddled up next to each other, touching, keeping each other warm in the winter. So I'm going to add one more. This paintbrush is driving me nuts. Okay. Now my first one that I did, first card with the foxes that I did, I made, I showed you some lines underneath it for like grass. And I added some golds and greens to it because I wanted it to look like it was kind of fall or, dead leaves or dead grass, kind of stuff like that. And then I was like, hold on, I wanted it to be winter. So the next one I came in with some purple and blue. And then I made little snowflakes in the sky also. I guarantee you this brush with the stray hair is not going to be working well for me on this one, but we'll do our best. All right, so make a blue with a little bit of purple in it. I mean, real watery. You don't want this one to have much color at all. So even after you pick up some blue, you may want to dunk it back in your paint cup. And you're not touching the foxes. So we're just kind of putting a shadow underneath them and in between them. And I'm leaving some room for the white of the tail. Notice that. Oh, shoot. It touched. That's, that's just the nature of watercolor. It does not like being told what to do. Just when you think you've got it figured out, it's like, oh yeah, watch this. All right, I'm picking up some of this purple again. I'm not going to come back and add more here because I'm afraid it's going to go into my fox, and I don't want an orange and purple fox. But I am going to put a little bit right here. And then I'm going to lighten up my brush on my paper towel to get rid of some of that and come in and move it out a little bit, spread it around. And then if I don't want a harsh line, I'm coming in with just clean water. So my brush is clean. And I'm just going to soften that edge. And then you can go back in to add snowflakes if you wanted. This brush is a little fat. If I were you, I'd use a really thin one. I didn't bring one of those over to the table with me. You get the idea. And if I feel like they're too dark, you could always come in with a super tiny piece of paper towel, Kleenex, whatever, and lift it up. That'll take out some of the water. All right, so it's going to dry, and we will add the features on the foxes in a moment. So So set it aside, and for the last one, the ornaments, I'm using this piece that I had taped down here. All right, so what this one is going to use is this glass or the lid that you may have at your space. I'm gonna decide what color do I want that ornament to be. And I think, because I've got a bunch of this red orange mixed up for my fox, I'm gonna go ahead and use that. Trying to get in more of the red than the orange. And then what I'm gonna do is get my brush really, really covered in it. And I'm gonna paint, it does a little bit better if I do it upside down. I'm gonna paint the edge of the glass, the rim of the glass, around all sides. I tried it where you like dunked it in a plate of color and it was too much. It didn't work real well. So I've found that this method works better in just applying some color to the rim of your glass. And then before it dries, kind of near the bottom edge of your paper, set it down. I left more space on top than I did on bottom. And then I'm gonna lift it up. And then before it dries, I'm coming in with that same brush that's really wet. And I'm taking this water right up to the edge. And it's gonna pick up that paint that the glass left behind and move it around. So I'm coming in still with a bunch of water. I'll come in with more color in a minute, but right now I've got to move kind of quick before that edge that I put down with the glass dries. And I don't have to get every piece of paper covered, because some of the places where there's white left behind, it looks like a reflection, like this did. The white paper was behind. So I'm gonna let that sit for a moment. I noticed on this one edge, it kind of got a little flat here, so I'm gonna try to straighten this out a little bit, curve it out a little bit, anyway. All right, so go ahead, get your glass, and when you're done with it, just kind of roll it on your paper towel or whatever so that the next person who needs to use it does not have to have the same color that you did. Although it's kind of fun. That's how some of these mix, is they got touches of purple and red violet and stuff from me switching colors. So go ahead and mix up a color, paint the rim of your glass, touch it down, and then with water come in and kind of flow it all together. I'm gonna give you a second to do that, and then I'll show you what comes next. Okay, so while you're doing that, I'm gonna come back in with the same color. And mine's still kind of wet, so I'm just coming on the bottom side because that's where the shadow is gonna be for me. And I'm just touching more of it down and then pushing it around. It doesn't have to spread out evenly. That's what makes it interesting. I may even come in with more pure red and less orange red because it was pretty kind of brownish red in what I had mixed up. I didn't really enjoy that. And if it's too much, if it's too dark, too thick, I'm gonna come in with clean water and touch the edge of it and just kind of let it spread around again. You just kind of let it do its own thing. This would be another fun one that if you wanted to put salt on, you could, you don't have to. And so that's gonna be that. And then real quick, before I move it aside, I'm gonna mix up a blue-green for the pine tree. They're not really a bright green. They're more, you know, the evergreen colors definitely got more of a blue kind of look to it. And then I had taped this on my other page. That's okay, it doesn't have to be taped. I'm gonna come in with some straight lines, go in all different directions. And that's gonna be my branch. I'm gonna give it a second to kind of dry a little bit, and then I come back in with more of the blue-green, and I may make it a little bit thicker, a little more painty, less watery. Because what that will do is it'll make these background ones lighter and seem like they're farther away. Whereas the richer, darker colored ones will seem like they're closer to the front. And they can go all different directions. I mean, they're going up, they're going down, but they're all kind of going to the right on mine. And that's it, except for the pen on it. So it's gonna take some time to dry. And so I'm gonna show you this while you're doing that. I just took a pen and I drew a line that disappeared into my branches, came down, made the top of the ornament, the little cap, the little hook, the little circle, the ring, and then tied it on. So that's all I did with the pen with this one. So I'm gonna move this. Slide it over. And coming back to the first one, you can draw anything on it. It can be, like I said, ornaments. It can be holly and leaves and berries and poinsettias and stuff. So it's meant to look kind of doodly, so it's okay. The ornaments, I'm going to just show you these. I did swirls, I did curved lines coming down, I did polka dots, I did rings with a zigzag, I did kind of a top cap and a bottom cap, I did rings with dots inside, I made curved lines coming down but they kind of had an S shape to them, and then I did little snowflakes. This one got a little fancy because I was like, I don't know what else to do. And I actually don't like this one. But I made the rings and put a star in it and then a kind of a bumpy line on top. So, but I also added the little caps in the rings to make them look like ornaments. So I feel like I'm running out of time. So I want to show you the box real quick. So for the foxes, they need their eyes, finish their ears, a nose. So I'm doing eyes closed, finishing their ears, do a little nose, and then their tail, kind of bushy tail. Their cheek is kind of a fuzzy cheek, sticks out, little zigzaggy line. I made the tail come up a bit, and then a curved line for their hind quarter, their back leg that's tucked in. And that's it. So put these somewhere safe. We're going to be making 5 more tomorrow. We'll go a little bit quicker. Yeah, and then we'll add on to it, and then I'll show you at the end of the week how we're gonna turn them into cards. But for now, go ahead and clean up and put everything away. Any of them that are still wet, just put in the drying rack and you can add the details to them tomorrow.